So, horseshoe crabs really live all over the Atlantic coastline of the United States. They like to hang out in nearshore waters, kind of close to land, or they'll even move inshore to these estuaries, which I'll talk about in just a minute. But regardless, they're sticking around land, the vast majority of the time. Now, the way the coastline works in a lot of areas in their distribution is you have the open ocean, and of course, the ocean is quite salty. The way we measure salt and water is through a unit called parts per thousand. And you can see I've drawn right here, the salinity of the open ocean is roughly 35 parts per thousand. Now, if you go way inland into rivers and streams and lakes or other freshwater systems, the salinity there is very low. The number that I see for a freshwater system is typically 0 to 0.5 parts per thousand. But as these rivers and streams start to flow into the ocean, they start to mix with all this ocean water, and that results in some really crazy ecosystems. In these estuaries, you have fresh water coming in from these rivers and streams, but you also have ocean water trying to climb its way up these river channels. And so what happens is that you have what's called brackish water, or water that is an intermediate salinity between these freshwater areas and these oceanic areas. And what's really interesting is that the salinity is not only kind of intermediate here, but it's also incredibly variable. You know, let's say we have a really big rainstorm and a bunch of fresh water starts coming down the river. That will heavily dilute the water and the salinity will drop in the estuary. Or if we have a drought or, very strong incoming tides, for instance, that can bring a lot of high salinity salt water in. And so organisms that are adapted to living in these estuaries are oftentimes capable of handling wide varieties of salinities in the waters that they live in, because it really is a necessity given these really dynamic environments. So, given that horseshoe crabs frequently inhabit these estuarine environments, it makes sense that they would have wide ranges of salinity tolerances. And that's generally what's seen. Horseshoe crabs, according to the University of Florida, can survive in salinities, as low as 5 parts per thousand, all the way up to 35 parts per thousand. So, full strength seawater, pretty much. And so they'll really have a good time inhabiting this area. But to answer your question, can they inhabit freshwater? The answer is an unfortunate no. They can survive some pretty dilute brackish water, but they can't make their way into freshwater. It would just cause way too many issues for them. So this was another great question. Thank you so much for asking, and hopefully this helped you a little bit.